And welcome back. So far, we've been having a wonderful Thursday morning. We're about to jump into our third and final segment for the morning, whereby we'll be talking about Rastafarian history and culture in Belize. In with us, brother David Obi and his son, Ras Indio. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
I must say that I love the apparel, man, for real.
African.
It looks good.
Royal. Like your appearance too.
So Rastafarian history and culture in Belize, Belizeans, yes, they do know about it, and we do see it out there. Give us some history, Rastafarianism. Talk to us.
Well, first I want to say thanks very much for the invitation. Sure. It's always nice when somebody invites you to come somewhere. It's nice when we ask, because we were always been welcome also. But this time we were invited, so it feels a lot nicer, you know. And I was asked to come and just brief on Black History Month. Yeah. February is the month chosen by our ancestors or elders in the United States. The African Americans chose the month of February for commemoration and celebration. We've been here a long time. We were brought here from the east. We came before on our one sailing around the world, before Columbus. But this trip was of a different nature. So in order for us to retrieve a lot of our culture, our African culture, we didn't pick a day or a week. We choose to have a month. And we figured that would help to stimulate in the schools and everywhere else, with considering the personnel that we have to do it with. In Belize, unfortunately, we haven't really gotten to the point where it's a part of the curriculum. It really should be a part of the curriculum, that all the children, they get to learn their culture, their root. It's very, very important. A chain is only as strong as the weakest link. Know thyself. It's very important for us to know ourselves. In Belize, we have a nature of looking at the Maya, the Quechua, the Mestizos, and we say, oh, the Spanish man, the outside, the Spanish man, they combine, you know, we clump everybody together. It's the same way with the Afro-Belizeans and the Creoles. We lump the Afro-Belizeans and the Creole together with, and these are different people in their own aspect. So this is a part that we really need to focus on in our country. We are 36 years old now. We really need to start to get this clear. I didn't really think I would have lived to see we have a Afro-American president in my lifetime, but we did. So I'm thinking it's very possible too that I'll be able to see that happen in our country too, to the point where our children are very proud of their Africanness. This is not something that has been taught to us over the years.
Well, I think that's such a great point, because the pride can only come with the knowledge.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you're here. You were referenced several times in our interview earlier this week with Emerson Gill from UNIA. And I think one of the key points that came out was being able to look at exactly that, how we identify ourselves, and whether or not the connection is made from a very young age of the African history that we do have in country. Looking at your own involvement and how you have been able to raise your kids, and the music that you promote, even the roots of your music really take you back to Africa. You talk about the sounds that you use. How important is it for you in terms of establishing your own identity, acknowledging where you come from?
Wow, that's the whole idea. You have to be able to do this, and because I have been very fortunate to have been around people that have taught me, I have seen the effect of what one person can do, of everything that you talk about. Just now, coming to my country and sharing this, we got back the Liberty Hall, we erected a monument for Isaiah Martyr, we did African Liberation Day for 7 years, we renamed Igbo Town. Now they're going back to refurbishing Igbo Town. We did that in, I think, 1991 or 92. When I said to the mayor, no, we need to keep the name of Igbo Town as it is. We don't need to change that, because my people would not be happy about that.
Where is Igbo Town?
Igbo Town is between South Street, Racecourse Street, Albert Street, and East Canal. That whole area in there. This is very important history. So I was so happy when I heard them talking about the whole rejuvenation situation of Igbo tongue. It's going to come because it's the same thing that happened in the United States. And I don't want to say Afro-American because we are all Americans. It's North, Central, and South America. So we are all Afro-Americans. So when I say Afro-American, people tend to think only the state, United States, right? But all these things are coming into place now because it has to happen. Our people has been asleep for a long time. Because when you're not educated about yourself, it's very hard to find it. Belize it's not accessible to you.
Yeah.
Now we have the internet. So I'm saying to my people, go to the internet and punch in information for your ancestry, for Africa. Educate yourself. It is the richest continent on the face of the earth, where you have the poorest people. Right? So this month, February, we have put aside. I'm hoping that in the near future, just like now, we have got the interest of the people with the rejuvenation project, interested in Liberty Hall to a certain degree. And I'm sure by the time we're through, we'll more than likely have something to do with putting it in the schools for the children to start to learn. And it's not only the African culture, it's the Maya culture, the everybody needs.
There has been a push for quite some time to include Maya and African history within the school system itself.
We have to do it. And we have a lot, the people that I look at whenever I'm thinking this is the East Indians. The East Indians are less, even more informed about themselves, that they refer to themselves as coolie, which are derogatory name. You're not even respecting your own self for the most part. It was a blessing. I went to Punta Gorda where there's a heavy concentration of East Indian people.
And they've been working very hard to promote
and
their
I
culture.
stepped into a place and the colors was on the wall. I'm saying, okay, now the East Indians are waking up. Because remember, the chain will only be as strong as the weakest link. And Belize will only be as strong as all these ethnic groups being aware of themselves. And once we strengthen ourselves, we can come together. Then we can say, we are Belizeans.
Yes.
Powerful.
Because now we all know I'm an Afro-Belizean, I'm a Creole person, I'm a Garifuna, I'm an East Indian, and the Garifuna person will know he's an Afro-Belizean also. Because that's the root. Africa was first.
That's right.
If you don't have that in Egypt, at the mystery system, the place where it says that Jesus went away for 6 years when he disappeared, on every door it said, know thyself. That's how important it is. It's very, very important.
Excellent. So while we speak of the importance, let's jump Ras Indio into this one. We've known you as Ras Indio ever, so I don't even think I know your real name. I only know you as Ras Indio, which is your identity.
See that here? Ask him.
We know you as Ras Indio. How long ago did you?
I have to say I established that brand, but that was like over
That's
50.
Oh.
That's me. That's
You never can decide.
You're sure? And I think some of your kids look like that too.
I think that just
yes, that 1983.
No problem.
You
no
know,
problem.
and I have to thank my father for leading me into this direction of where I am now. You know, because as a youth I was taught certain things. As a youth I was put around certain music, which I guess brought me to where I am now.
You're a Rastafarian. When did you find out to yourself, you know what, this is the road I want to go? And what is Rastafarian? But
yeah, I mean, it was a natural thing, Rastafarianism is actually someone just realizing themselves and again, knowing thyself, It's not really as people make it out to be, because anyone can be a Rasta, It doesn't really have to do with the hair you wear. As you know, a lot of people who wear the hair don't even carry a lot of the Rasta foundation, or the fundamentals, So I found myself, maybe I would say 20 to 25 years ago is when I realized, I'm gonna live this life, and I'm gonna express it through the music I do, which is why I got pulled into the reggae music, because that's the avenue for Rasta music,
Let's start there. There are the common knowledge aspects of Rastafarianism, but often given the wrong annotation. So let's start first with the very obvious one, which is the hair. And we have the very popular song, what? You don't have to be dread to be Rasta.
Mark and Heritage.
That's right.
Yes, I.
So let's start with how this got linked to Rastafarianism and why it's not necessarily significant or essential to
Yeah.
identify as a Rastafarian?
Well, okay, as insignificant as you want to make it is as significant.
Okay.
Because you will find the real Rasta man on the mountain, not using a comb, you know, not using certain things that have been brought to us through the
Yeah.
European lifestyle, you know, and it's just natural. It's all it is. Bob Marley was the biggest example of a natural, simple Rasta man. You know, up today now you have different categories, different groups of Rasta. You have Nyabingi, you have the Ethiopian World Federation, you have 12 tribes Orthodox, you know, and you have the Bobo, who wrap them head up in the turban, you know, Sizzla, Cableton, these artists of that. And it kind of broke us down in a way to a point where a lot of, I wouldn't say, when you say, you know, when you come down on people, a lot of misjudge, you know, a lot of, I think because people want to be the same, yet everyone is different.
Yeah.
We are all different. So just like you have Christians and you have Muslims and different, you know, groups of religions. You know, Rasta people, we can be of a religion and we are aiming at this now. There are moves being made towards a church and a congregation now.
Okay.
After all these years. You know, because, you know, through having a church and a congregation as such, you can get certain assistance through the government and help and grow, you know. We have always been closer to the land, you know, and I go back to Rootsville. I know we've been in here before talking about a place called Rootsville in Belmopan, which got moved and, you know, so we've always been close to the land and dealing with the land, which hasn't allowed us to really be exposed to, you know, everyday society. Because we stick in the back, in the corner, you know, Rasta not really out there, only through the music.
Yeah.
You understand?
And the music has really influenced a lot of people to start to identify
Definitely.
As Rastafarian.
All races.
Yeah. And I keep on using the phrase identify because you pointed it out yourself. There's some who adopt the appearance.
Yes.
There are some who really understand the true core values as to what it represents.
Yes.
And how does this fit together? I mean, if you meet people who say, I'm Rasta,
Yeah.
and then you start to speak to them about the values that come with being a Rasta, and you realize that it isn't necessarily the same. There's the surface level and the real connection. Do you try to educate them to be able, what are some of the things that you feel are fundamental to this way of life that if people will identify with, that they should subscribe to?
Yeah, to certain actions. Well, with me now, I don't push it on anyone.
Yeah, you can.
You know, even my children, you know, Zaire, Jahir, they've all taken on to themselves and said, you know, Daddy, I want to twist me here now. You know, I didn't push it on any one of them. And just like worldwide, you know, when it comes to that idea, it's hard to say because again, the people who don't wear the locks and have it in their heart, some of them can be very strong and powerful.
Yes.
You know, like very strong and powerful compared to those who mistakenly, you know, lead you astray by putting on the locks and putting on the appearance and then they're not really doing what Rastas, you know, came here to do, which is basically just unify and live as one and eat healthy and live right. You know, it's simple. It's not really all that people have made it out to be. You understand?
So in keeping with Rastafarian history, we keep, especially in Rastafarianism, we hear about Haile Selassie. Who's
Yes.
Haile Selassie?
Well, he's the king of Ethiopia. All right, he was he was crowned in 1930. All right, coronated. King of Kings, Lion of Judah. Okay, there's been no one else to sit on the throne of King David and to be able to sit on that throne and call himself the king as he is, which is why the Rastas of Jamaica, specifically, when he visited Jamaica, right, they got following the knowledge of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey said, look to the east, for when a king is crowned, we'll know that our redemption is near. And it's because of that simple statement that Marcus Garvey made the Rastas of Jamaica look at King Selassie as the fulfillment and who sat on the throne that we've been waiting someone to sit on for all these years. People are still waiting at this time for someone to come, but the Rasta people believe that he's already come, and we are now in this time called revelation. You understand?
Brother David, let me jump in here and talk about what your contribution was to Indio at a young age when he decided that he wanted to be a Rastafarian.
Well, when we were living in Los Angeles around the 80s, when reggae music first started coming to Los Angeles, I was one of the young musicians that had my band, and we distributed the music in that whole community, San Francisco, Santa Barbara, and the whole area. So fortunately for me as a Belizean, I was in the middle of all this knowledge. It was a bubbling of information that only happens every now and again. I was fortunate to be in that spot. And by being there, India was a child at that time. And I would not refuse to go there without taking my child to see this. And I took all my children. Nekuma is not here today, but Nekuma is of the same nature. Ricky, one of my older sons. They had to be exposed simply because in the everyday life, it's not set up for you to be aware of yourself. It's not delivered to you, it's not put before you. So when I found this, I had to share this with all my youths so they could share it with their youth. But one of the things that really caught me in the very early stage was when I found out, I was reading about Marcus Garvey, and I came in contact with Isaiah Martha picture in the book from British Honduras. And that was like the light went on, boom.
That's instant connection.
Immediately, in a book like Marcus Garvey, you know. And then that took me to realizing my grandfather's name, Mansa. And not before I knew about my African history, the name Mansa wouldn't mean anything to me. But then I already found out that one of the greatest kings of Africa, his name was Mansa Musa. So immediately I knew my parents were sending a message. It's like I named Indio David, beloved one, Nkrumah, Kwame. We started naming ourselves our right names because they had changed our names. And they had cut off our hair. And this is one of the first stage of you losing your identity. So once you start getting back your name and your strength, now you start to project. That's one of the reasons why a young man like Indio, you feel the effect that he has done on his country and so far the world with his music. I used to have him around Steel Pulse. All of these guys used to throw him up in the air and catch him, and he would be there with the sound check and everything and trying to get a chance to play and be in the open act. So when I come back to my country, I can share this.
Yes.
That's what I've been doing ever since.
So you fully supported his decision?
Definitely, because we teach our children to be to have their own identity.
Which is something that our society is not really accustomed to. And I see where you're going with this is because I have a lot of close brethren who have went through a lot of struggle within the family because they decided to grow the locks, you know. And again, you know, let a man be a man and find his way is our method.
And I'm glad we start using the word locks because the word again, dread, came from the shit stem also. Dread. It's a negative. Your hair is not dread. It's locks.
It's locks.
Samson, Abraham, all of these guys
is referred to as locks.
If you read the Bible, it speaks about the locks.
And back in those days, we never have comb.
Hair
of wool. You want to take off my beanie and show your hair of wool?
You can go ahead if you want. We've seen you without it before, haven't we? Yeah, you've come on without it before.
And not only that, from my own experience of growing my locks, when you do something like that, you would be surprised to know what you experience from your humankind. How people judge you without knowing you. How people make statements, you know, and you're looking at them and you're saying, you don't even know me. You can't do that to people. So it teaches you not to do that with people, regardless of what. You know, it teaches you a lot of things.
And in general, it's very hard for people to accept and embrace, not all people, anything that is different from what we're accustomed to. And where many times we have become conformist without realizing it, just kind of passed on. And you mean non-conformist, it is a very difficult adjustment for people, and there are many misconceptions that come. And I appreciate you saying where people may meet someone with locks and have certain assumptions or expectations as to who they are. But these perceptions oftentimes are perpetuated through the actions of a few. It's like the very unfortunate situation of Muslims where, wearing their clothing, people automatically think of radical Muslims.
That's another very good example.
So I think it's very important to recognize that where 1-2 persons cause a bad perception, it becomes a generalization.
Yeah.
And I want to get to the root of that because I think it's so important in having this conversation what true Rastafarianism is. So let me give you some misconceptions, and you can go ahead and talk about where this comes from. And the first one is marijuana usage, right? So I have dreads, so I smoke weed. What's the link?
It's a stereotype.
Truth, stereotype, and what does it mean for you to be able to explain?
Well, really, I know a lot of people that smoke weed that don't go.
Exactly.
That take care of that right there. You know, that answer that. I know a lot of people, believe me, you wouldn't believe some of the people.
Oh, I know as well.
All right?
Yeah. And we do have to talk about legalization of
I was going to say that.
Yes. Because that is what has plagued the Rasta for a while. And I've discouraged Rasta to congregate and to form, units, because whenever Rasta congregate and unify, of course, marijuana is usually there. Yeah. And then that causes the police to come and dismantle that or whatever situation. So for many years that we have tried shows, we've tried, different little things, and it seems to never work. It worked for a while, but it never lasts, I should say. There was a time we used to perform out at Independence Park every Sunday in Belmopan. We used to bring out our instrument. We used to set up, and who want to come, bring out your children. We'll play all afternoon music for you, because we had all kind of artists at that time, all kind of different people who want to sing. And the band would play, and who want to sing can sing, And again, I guess, gave people another wrong conception, because, they just want to play music and smoke weed. Yeah. But in reality, we were trying to create something, something positive, because music is very positive for people.
In sticking with history and culture in Belize, what's the following like? We know that Rastafarian is actually a religion, right? Well, am I right or am I right here?
Besides, it's a way of life. I would never say that it's a religion. Yeah. Me personally will always say, but a lot of people are saying that it has to be getting to that level of a religion, because that's the only way we will get the things that people of religions get.
Yeah. What's the following like in Belize as we speak?
Following for Rasta?
The following, yes.
Well, it's huge. But the following for marijuana is a lot huger. But the Rasta, a lot of people don't realize how much the Rasta influence certain things in their lives, and they tend to black it out and, whatever, because they don't want to adhere to it. A lot of people grow locks, a lot of nurses, a lot of teachers, a lot of them grow locks now, and they just wear the hair. Yeah. And it's beautiful. Yeah. I love to see it. I remember a statement Rasta made, Bob Marley made in the past, and they asked, what do you see, Rasta? What do you see? He said, Rasta is the future. And that's all he said. And he laughed,
There are a lot of famous quotes from Bob Marley, that much I could tell you, but let's get to the colors. I know that we don't have a lot of time, but we always see the red, gold, and green. What does that signify?
Ethiopia. Specifically. Because we know Ethiopia is the root of all mankind. So that's basically, Ethiopia, red, gold, and green. It's not a Rasta thing. It's an Ethiopian thing. We know people like to associate it with Jamaica also, but Jamaica is yellow and green.
Yes.
Okay? So let's remember, Ethiopia, and then Africa on a whole is red, black, and green. You see? So Ethiopia specifically, because why? Selassie came from Ethiopia.
And I am so...
Could I point out a little bit closer with it?
Red for the blood.
The red is for the blood that was spilled. Somebody try to reach me, but I shall turn off. You can't reach me right now.
They want to tell you they can see you on TV.
Yeah. The red is for the blood that was spilled. A lot of blood, and still continue to spill. The black is for the beautiful people, mainly of Africa. Yeah. This is our identity. And this is one of the reasons it's so important for the children to be proud of themselves. Because you have a lot of conscious people, youths that are proud of themselves. They're not insecure about their complexion, because these things play a role in our community still, what I mean? And we need to get rid of that. The green is for the prosperous future, as we knew before, because nothing remains the same forever. The yellow is for our creativity, our belief in God. Yellow is always connected with our spirituality.
I want to get back to some of the misconceptions for a little bit, if I can. And India, you pointed out the ties with Jamaica, obviously, with the popularity of Bob Marley, and some have seen it as simply, and we still see this in our culture today, unfortunately, that we tend to copycat or emulate other cultures.
That's true.
So when people look at growing Rastafarian population, they say, oh, there they go, trying to be like Jamaicans again. What do you say to that one?
Ignorance again, because that didn't come from Jamaica. That came from Africa again. That's why it's important to know these things.
roots.
Because,
Yes.
Mama tribe from Africa used to wear their hair of that nature, and it used to symbolize, like strong and strength against the white man that was coming in and trying to invade at the time.
And how about the perception that Rastafarians are rebels, the rebellion aspect of it? What do you say to that?
I would agree. With that. Simply, it's a rebellious spirit, and we have people that are
Rebelling against?
The system.
the system. Jesus Christ did the same thing. The same guy, Jesus Christ, that everybody talks and praises and everything, he was the same way.
He was rebellious.
He was rebellious. He stood on the corner, and that's the reason why the Romans, they went and they did whatever, because he was rebelling against the system. He's the one that said the same thing. And when the media, we used to call them the scribes in those days, came and they said to him, well, they wanted to pick his mouth, because that's what the media do, pick your mouth. So you could say things that you're not supposed to say and get in trouble. And he just told him, give unto Caesar what is Caesar, and what to Jah is to Jah. They had to leave him alone. Because he had other words. He went to that same university in Egypt, the Egyptian mystery system. And that's where he learned all of those things. A lot of time people don't know Egypt is in Africa. Over the years, they have divided Egypt from Africa in such a way that when you talk about Egypt, you don't even realize you're talking about Africa. That's how people can play with your mind.
Land of the pyramids.
You understand? So that's where Jesus went to get all his education that everybody is praising about Jesus. And he says, he's a black man. My feet are like bronze and my hair is like wool. But nobody wants to emphasize that because you go into something else.
Yes.
And let's get into the color complexities of it. And this is so important in Black History Month and even in talking about Rastafarianism. Societies are, as they are right now, multicultural, multiracial, however you want, whatever terminology you want to use. Whereas John is Belizean and he's darker than I am. I'm equally Belizean, but I'm lighter. India is your son, he's lighter than you are. But people have difficulty in identifying, I don't want to say people have difficulty. We haven't reached a point where we can acknowledge whether or not it is the case that you have African roots, because there is just a general idea that you have to be black. You have to be very dark.
Well, again, it's lack of education. This is why it's so important. Because when it's all done, we'll all realize we're human beings. Then we'll get together. But the way it is right now, maybe because my complexion is different from yours, I have better authority than you. And all of that type of thing. It could either be because I'm blacker than you, or I am
and it happens in both constructs. It's either you're too dark or not dark enough.
Correct. You understand? Or you're too white or you're not white enough.
I went through it recently on Facebook. You know how Facebook is, and I made a post in regards to, it was basically the heading that caught me most. It was a picture of a Caucasian lady. It wasn't even a light-skinned lady, right? And she was crowned Mother Africa 2017. So I just reposted the picture and I just asked, like, what is this? But a lot of people took on to it, and even personally people got at me saying, well, what about Miss Belize and Rebecca being from Dangriga, and how do I feel? And it was nothing of that nature. I mean, I had to express the fact that, well, okay, let's look at the whole picture here. We're talking about a Caucasian descendant being crowned Miss Africa, which we do know South Africa and these places were inhabited by, right? But let's look at the big picture still, you understand? So I had to defend myself and wiggle my way out of that post, when in reality, I was only expressing what I saw, which to me was, again, them trying to do what they've done for many, many years. You understand? Which is steal the beautifying, the beauty that we have, and try to represent it and take it for themselves.
Well, one of the things that now we have to be really conscious of is when, I'm glad this part come up to, is when we speak of Africa, there is a black Africa and there is a white Africa. That's the reality of the situation now, you know. So, but when you get into that, you're making more confusion again. We have to clear up this part first. We have to clear up, because you start telling people there's a black and white Africa, now you're confusing the situation more. So I know, but you see, when if you want somebody to learn something, you have to give them the right way. It's like a baby. You got to feed the child with something. You can't get meat as a band. You know what I mean? You have to give people things in a certain kind of, that you don't confuse them. And plenty of time, that's what the system tries to do, is to confuse the people. So we that was fortunate to get this information another way, we must know that we need to disseminate this information in a certain kind of way that it works. We were talking to the lady that was in here earlier before our show. It's important that whatever you share with the people, that it works, because if you share it and it don't work, hey, you didn't do anything. You know what I mean? So we don't even want to get into the white Africa yet. Let's just stick with the black Africa for a while. Tunisia, you see,
but that's the point I'm making, because what has happened now is if somebody is mixed, and India, if I don't mind, I'll use you as an example.
Very much.
India is mixed. And people will look at him and say, well, he's not really black. No matter if he identifies as Rastafarian.
I've gotten it before.
I'm sure you've gotten it.
But when I go to Ethiopia, which is the root, everyone says, salam no. Like, start talking to me in Ethiopia, I'm like, hold on. They're like, oh.
Yes. But what I'm saying is, because we expect that any person who will identify with African roots will be darker in complexion. And it's melatonin, it's science, it's what your body has more of. Melanin. What your body has more of based on the environmental conditions that you lived in. That's really scientifically what it is.
And who did not take on to it were called albinos, and they were sent.
So, but how do you talk about, see, because if we say Black History Month, then you're saying only people who identify as black. But if we say African
History Month,
yes, history, or African descendants history,
I've always had a problem with identifying us as a color.
Somebody who has something within them that comes from Africa, whether or not they have gotten as much melanin as the rest. Now you know I'm thinking about sleep. Melanin as someone else. You see what I'm saying?
One of the things that I share with people from that conversation, I usually say it's the choice that you make, you know. You know, once you make your choice and you say, well, because that's what happened in the United States also. You had the people that were mixed, the Creoles and different people that were mixed. And for a while, they didn't consider themselves black. No, we're not black, you know, you guys are the black guys. But as they went down the road, they realized, wait a minute, I can't go over that side. I fit over this side. I fit over this side better. It took years for them to realize it, because, like you say, it's not here only. You know, it's a trained mind. I don't want to go over there. I don't want to be affiliated with that. But as they went down the road, they realized, wait a minute, they don't want me over there. Because my nose is nice. My nose is still nice and big, and my lip is still nice and thick. But my complexion is different. But they know I'm a black person because these are some of my features.
Maya have a lot of those features also.
You understand? So a lot of the people then decided, let's come over this side where the black people are. And you know, some of these two groups of people need each other. It's just like the Afro-Belizean in Belize and the Creole. These two people need each other. Closely for every reason. That the Creole is so much closer to the Afro-Belizean than any other ethnic group.
It takes us to build us, you know.
So my sister, basically, it's what you decide, and you know something about the African race. We don't turn away nobody. That has been one of our bad situations, because we let people come in and next thing you know they come in and manipulate the business. But we don't turn away nobody. You can't go in a white place like that.
We're still singing and happy.
You understand what I mean? So it has worked.
Slavery.
It has worked for us and it has worked against us. But basically, it just boils down to your choice.
That's right.
All right. Well, closing points, because we're completely out of time.
Yes.
For me, again, I want to thank you guys very much all the time for welcome me. And I'd like to thank our sponsors who help with make a reach, you know. Brother Peters, better known to us as Boss P, and the spirit of Brother Nate. So there are people who understand the struggle that we're in, and proud people of themselves, so they try to encourage us by helping us, because we are not a wealthy race. We're rich in spirit, but we're not wealthy. So among us, and when we put what we have together, you'll be surprised what we have. But usually we're not together yet. So fortunately, we have people who assist us in these cases. Yeah. So I wanted to thank them. And of course, thank all my brothers and sisters that always encourage us in the music and in everything else, that we continue to move forward.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, I just want to say, bless everyone. And thanks again, Channel 5, for bringing me through. It's been a pleasure sharing something different, about the Rastas in Belize. And I also want you to know I am going to the foundation of Rasta next week. Yep. We're heading over to Jamaica to represent us on a festival called the Rakabesa Fest. All right. It's a herbs and music festival. Okay, it's the first of its kind in Jamaica. As you know, things have changed there, so they're moving on it fast. Yeah. But as you can see, the lineup has Sizzla, Kalanji, Iwayne, Andrew Tash, who is the son of Peter Tash, and many others. And we're fortunate to get our face and name on the flyer, along with these great performers.
Fantastic.
Starting off 2017 with a bang. And we have a new video, We Blaze Fire. We'll be releasing it soon, so just look out for more works. I have spent a lot of family time lately. Take time, redeem yourself, and here we go again.
And I'd like to congratulate my son for getting on that show, because that's not easy for do get on the island of Jamaica. Yeah. That's not easy. Enough singers and writers today.
Yeah, they want to
get in that.
Their smallest artists get full flyers in Belize, but you got space on Ras Indio. You
Congratulations.
on there.
Respect.
Congratulations. Yes,
big up Belize, always.
All right, we're gonna thank you again. We're gonna go ahead and take our final break now. When we come back, we'll have a wrap up, so stay tuned.